This terrorist and his brother grew up next door to our next guest. And she remembers the Tsarnaev brothers as sweet young boys and cannot believe what she is hearing. Emily Long joins me now by phone from Sterling, Virginia. She and her husband, again, were next-door neighbors of these suspects' family. Emily, thank you very much for being here. And I'm sure it's strange for you to now hear these two boys who live next door to you described as terrorists.
It's extremely surreal.
How did you relate with them? What were your experiences with them?
One of the first experiences I had with those boys was pulling up. I had a young 2-year-old or 2.5-year-old and a baby, and we shared a courtyard together, and I was bringing in groceries, and Tamerlan saw me. He was on the 3rd floor, their building, and he ran down and helped bring in the groceries without any prompting, and this happened regularly, this occurrence, and they were always looking to help. Jahar just always had the sweetest heart. And when I still think of him, I think of his sweet smile. It's so hard for me to put this together. It's just completely surreal. I
want to tell our viewers that what you're watching on screen left is overhead aerial shots and ground shots of Cambridge, Massachusetts, where the police presence is heavy and the manhunt continues. Emily, how long did you live next door to them?
We lived next door to them for 1.5 years, but we still owned our house for another 2.5 years, and so we constantly were popping back and forth back to Boston, and we've stayed in touch since then. We lost touch the past couple years, but this is a family that we still send Christmas cards to. They're very dear to us. In fact, my husband and I were saying this morning how everything we learned about hospitality was from this family. They're so generous, so giving, and my heart breaks for their mom and dad because I just know that they've already been through so much, and this is just heartbreaking.
So who lived in the house? The mother, father, these two boys, and who else?
And the two sisters.
Okay, are the sisters older or younger?
Tamerlan is the oldest, and then you have the 2 girls, and Jahar is the youngest of the 4 children.
And do you have any information on where the 2 sisters are now? We had heard one might be in New Jersey.
We've lost contact with them over the years, so I don't know.
Did the parents, we'd heard that the father's English wasn't necessarily all that great. How about the mother?
They were very educated. So I heard his brother interviewed earlier, and the accent is very similar. And, I feel for his brother, too. I could just see he's trying to protect his family. But so he had a thick accent, but he spoke very well English, and they were both lawyers before they came to the States. And actually, Anzor was beaten so severely by the KGB and left for dead, and that's actually how they became political refugees here in America.
That's the father you're talking about. And when
yes,
in your conversations with him and his wife, did you ever detect any hint of radicalization?
Absolutely not. They were so thankful to be in America. The boys were too, and the girls. They really saw it as a blessing. Tamerlan, being the oldest child, he had this sense of justice about him. I know it seems ironic to say that, but I think he's just got poisoned along the way somehow, and I don't know how that happened, but he was so bright. He and my husband would sit and talk about Dostoevsky, and he loved the Brothers Karamazov, and just very bright boy.
Never saw any, for example, sometimes we hear about these folks being extremely introverted, keep to themselves, don't have a lot of friends. What did you see along that score?
I didn't see that. I mean, like I said, we shared a courtyard. So anytime me and my girls would be in the courtyard, many of them would come down, and be with us. So I definitely didn't see any kind of recluse. They were the opposite of that. They were very community, very friendly, very hospitable and generous.
Now, Tamerlan had about 7 years on his younger brother. Tamerlan now dead, his younger brother at large. And so some have described him as the leader. And when we saw the video released yesterday of the 2 suspects in the bombing, he was in front. First, let me ask you, when you saw that video, did you have any hint of recognition?
Yes, we did recognize them.
Really?
We just saw, my husband was reading the report this morning and screamed out to me. And at that point, we turned on the television and saw the pictures, and I immediately recognized them.
What goes through your head at that moment, Emily?
Shock, just complete shock. I just couldn't believe it. I fell on the floor, actually.
Wow. Would you say that the older brother, Tamerlan, was a leader to his younger brother?
There's no question. I mean, when you think about siblings just in general, the oldest has that sense about them just in the birth order. And Tamerlan is very strong. And Jahar has a spirit about him that wants to please and is very sweet-hearted and compassionate. And so that's why it's even more shocking, that he would be a part of this.
Wow. Emily Long, thank you so much for giving us your thoughts on these two young men who the FBI says are terrorists who committed this bombing. We appreciate your insights on it.